Well. The PS5 Pro has finally been announced after years of speculation that started less than a year after the release of the original console. The PS5 Pro is set to be released November 7th. The new console totes a new graphics processing chip, improved ray tracing, stabilized performance for PS4 and PS5 games, and the brand new branded PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution, or PSSR, which is meant to improve how all games look. The price though? A whole ass $700. Depending on who you are, the announcement was either an unsurprising disappointment or a surprising disappointment. All jokes aside, I do not believe this was the best option for Sony. Not only is the price steep, but the concept of pro consoles has become moot since graphics have peaked for your average gamer. So here's a look into all of the problems with the PS5 Pro just from the announcement, including everything from the lack of a disc drive to the minimal improvements made for any average gamer. Really, I don't think this thing is worth the money, so let's get into it. The disc drive is the biggest problem with this updated console. Now, nothing is wrong with wanting to improve upon a console, not at all. Microsoft created the Xbox 360 Elite in the 2000s and follow-up editions to ease woes related to the Red Ring of Death and other issues related to the original console. Nintendo has released multiple versions of the DS and 3DS, PlayStation has released slim PS3s and improved PS4 models way before. It's nothing new at all. The problem is that this new console takes away features. Specifically, the disc drive, which is no longer a built-in feature of the PS5. It hasn't been since the Slim model was released last year with separately sold disc drives, and still it's surprising to see that the Pro version doesn't even have a disc-based version and opts to use the Slim's separately sold disc drives. It seems slimy to make the choice of disc or no disc so tricky for a casual consumer compared to the other options for the base PS5 model, which made the decision much more clear. Pay $100 more for your console and get the disc drive. While the new disc drives technically cost less, their marketing is less clear. Some people who buy a PS5 Pro may not know that they need a disc drive or won't think about it until it's time to have one. It may not be a super common problem, but I could definitely see this mixing people up considering you have to buy both of them separately rather than in one package. On top of that, anybody upgrading to the PS5 Pro who used to have a PS5 with a disc drive will now need to buy a disc drive unless they just don't want to have access to any of the games they already own or want to keep their original PS5 just to play those games, which does not make any sense. So for those people, the upgrade is going to automatically cost $779.98 before tax, looking at this really being an $800 console just being put on the streets like it makes sense. The proprietary disc drive almost seems like a joke. A feature that was the norm for every console before the PS5 is now an option. It's laughable how expensive this console is, especially for people who already own a PS5. For new console owners who need a new controller or headset with their PS5 Pro, the price is easily going to skyrocket to $1,000, especially once you include having to actually buy video games. Easily. And on top of that, they're all going to be digital, so you don't actually own them. Playing games that you own already is now an option according to Sony. For $200 more than the original PS5 or a Slim model, players will receive no disc drive, improved graphics and smoother frame rates, and no ownership of any game that they choose to buy. PS5 stores go down for good? Sorry, your $700 brick won't be playing anything it hasn't already downloaded. Purchase a disc drive later? Better hope that the Sony servers are still up because the disc drive needs internet to be activated. The way that they're pushing this separate disc drive is a loss for physical media, it's a loss for the consumer, and it's encouraging players to move toward digital media if anything. At least at the beginning of the PS5 life cycle, the optional disc drive was less slimy, with clear-cut additions and no caveats. It was the beginning of the console generation, and you could choose if you wanted to go all digital or not from the start. Now, we're 4 years in, and you're tempting previously invested owners who already own PS4 and PS5 games and have for years to give up their ability to use those games or hand over even more cash. Basically, if you already own any PS5 games on disc, you have to pay $80 extra, and that just doesn't sound like a good deal to me when you're already buying an entire other console. Now, let's discuss the graphics part of the PS5 Pro. This is strictly a personal opinion, and it seems to be a popular one from what I've seen online and just talking to other people. But graphics for consoles have peaked. They have. At this point, we can see every hair on Kratos' beard, we can see every pore and every surface of every single thing. Mortal Kombat should not look any more realistic. Graphics are done advancing. I literally cannot tell the difference, and if it gets more realistic, I might actually start getting afraid of them. This doesn't even consider the fact that you need the right type of TV to be able to see some of these graphics. I, and many others, will not continue to purchase new TVs with every new console so we can actually enjoy what the things have to offer. The PS5 Pro is no different. I play my original PS5 on a 4K TV that sits in my living room and it's fine. It doesn't have VRR, it doesn't do 120 Hz, and I still have a great time. And I can see every pore on Leon Kennedy's face, every speck of dirt under Ellie's fingernails, and every single hair on Ratchet. I think the last time I was impressed by graphics was when I finished God of War Ragnarok. That was the peak for me. Other games with high fidelity graphics like Alan Wake 2 or The Last of Us look great too. Street Fighter and Guilty Gear are beautiful without using hyper-realistic graphics, and they look amazing in motion. The need for higher frame rates and higher graphical fidelity on 60-inch TVs is an expensive and unnecessary one. Better frame rates are cool, AI upscaling is cool, but are they worth $200 extra if your TV can't even let you appreciate those things? A PS5 Pro means a new TV or a new monitor for many customers. And for the naked eye, who really notices the difference between 1080p and 60 FPS and 4K and 60 FPS? This is a genuine question because I personally can't tell the difference. Graphical improvements are nice, but load times aren't even being improved because they're already so low. Graphics do matter. I actually do appreciate a lot of those high fidelity graphics, especially from this last generation, but it doesn't matter when the difference needs to be shown side by side to understand. During that Sony presentation when they kept showing The Last of Us and other games side by side, all I could think was, wow, I literally would not have noticed unless you put them right next to each other. And unless I'm going to have a piece of paper that has those side by sides taped to each other, have a split screen with the original PS5 version on one side, I'm not going to notice the difference. And I feel like most consumers won't unless they really are into this type of fidelity, which I know that those people exist, but that's not for most people. Now, the pricing of the PS5 is an obvious gripe, but we still need to discuss it. Along with the fact that a lot of people don't have this type of purchasing power, especially compared to 2020, every single other console is less expensive than this thing. Pre-built PCs are less expensive. It's a bit gnarly to ask so much for an upgrade that is essentially the same console. At this point, the only consumer that this price makes sense for is someone who's purchasing a PS5 for the first time. There's not really much else to say, but that releasing such an expensive console near the holidays is nothing but greedy and tone deaf, especially one that looks so similar to its cheaper version. Just look at this price for a minute and tell me when you think it looks reasonable. When it comes to Sony's competition, the PS5 Pro looks like a bad deal outright. Not only is it expensive, but many of its exclusives are already on PC. The PC Master Race members of the audience will also love to hear this too. Buying a pre-built PC or a Steam Deck is a much better purchase than a PS5 Pro. Hell, even buying a regular PS5 is a better purchase. If I don't want to play any Sony games at all, an Xbox Series X makes more sense at that point. There's so many other entry points for new gamers or alternatives for gamers who already own a PS5. PCs can be upgraded over time and have a bigger library of games. They can also have more fidelity-based displays and can be used for 100 other applications. The Series X has most of the same games, the Switch has more exclusives, and is the cheapest out of the big three. Sony releasing this is almost them telegraphing to the competition, hey, we don't really see you as competition, and this is for our loyal fan base, and no broke people are allowed. But guess what? We are confident that they will buy it over your consoles. Sony themselves said that they are really selling this thing at this price because they don't really see anything else as competition. They actually said that. In my opinion, Sony will only sell these pros because they have the loyal fan base, the household name, and the chance to catch new gamers who haven't done their research by surprise. Everything else on the market, including, once again, the PS5 Slim, look to be a better investment than the PS5 Pro. I even understand that PS5s and consoles are more convenient. I started as a console-only gamer before expanding my horizons to PC, and I will always agree that consoles have their place and will always be the easier option. If consoles were really so obsolete, they wouldn't be selling so rapidly every year across the world. They're here to stay, even if PCs are objectively the better, cheaper option all around. Still, anything is better than paying $700 for a console before you even grab a game. Don't get me wrong, the PS5 Pro will still sell. New gamers, people with the cash to blow, and collectors will make sure of that. Many people purchase these consoles without much of a second thought, especially if they have the cash on hand. It might sell better than the base model, but it is not worth the price at all. It's premature, a bit greedy, and not fitting for the average consumer. The original PS5 was already pushing it with the advanced features only available on bigger TVs, and this one is no different. Hopefully, we see a price drop in the future because this is ridiculous, and I, personally, will not buy one. Thanks for listening to me critique the PS5 Pro and the gaming economy at large. Subscribe if you can, it only takes one click. And come back to the Super Chevy Deco channel soon for more videos on fighting games, gaming in general, and everything that affects both of those things. See y'all later.